doing mythology. So just to tell you again a little bit about how this will work, we're going to start with a story. I'm going to tell you a myth this week, and then we will demonstrate the activities that are in the take and makes. We do have a few take and makes left, so at the end, I will tell you how to schedule a pickup for those. So let's start with our story. Because we are doing mythology today, we are doing a myth from the Greek mythology, and it's Theseus and the Minotaur. So a long, long time ago on the island of Crete, there was a king named Minos. And he was a very powerful king, and so all of the countries around him were afraid of him. And so he found that he could make them do things for him because they were afraid of him. And so he had a monster that was called a Minotaur. And the Minotaur was mostly a big, strong man, but he had the head of a bull, a great big bull with great big horns. And he was bigger than anybody else. He was ginormous. And so Minos, the only way to control him was to put him into a labyrinth. And a labyrinth is another word for a maze. But this one was huge, and it was underground, and it went all over the place, and it was totally dark, and the Minotaur was right in the center of it. Now, the Minotaur had to be fed, and he fed on people, which I know is a little gross, but so Minos went to all those countries and told them that they had to provide a tribute every year so that he could feed his Minotaur. And one of those countries was Athens. Now, Athens was a pretty strong country on their own, but they were still afraid of King Minos, and so they would send a tribute every 7 years. Now, one year, the king's son, whose name was Theseus, asked his father, "Why do we keep sending all of these people?" And his father explained about the Minotaur and how King Minos would declare war on them if they didn't do it. And Theseus said, "This year, I'm going with them, and I'm going to destroy the Minotaur." And his father wasn't very happy about that, but he let him go because he was determined. So Theseus got on the ship with the rest of the tribute and sailed to Crete. Now, when he got off the ship, King Minos was there, and he looked at all of them, and he's like, "You puny people, you won't stand a chance against my Minotaur." But Theseus stood up and he said, I am the son of the king of Athens, and I am going to destroy the Minotaur." And King Minos says, "Yeah, we'll see. You can go first." So as they're walking to the entrance of the labyrinth, King Minos' daughter, whose name is Ariadne, she decides that Theseus is far too strong and handsome to let him die in that labyrinth. So she walks up to him and she says, "I know you're strong enough to defeat the Minotaur, but if you don't know how to get out of the labyrinth, you'll be stuck in there forever because you can't get out." She said it's that confusing and that dark. So she gave him a ball of thread. And she said, "Tie this to the door and then carry it with you everywhere you go so that you have a trail to come back." So Theseus sticks it in his pocket. He goes in the door and he ties the thread around the door and he starts going through the labyrinth. And it is totally dark. It is so dark he can't even see his hands in front of his face. And so he's feeling around, going around corners. And as he's doing it, he's hearing this horrible roar. He can hear the Minotaur. But he wants to meet the Minotaur, so that sound just helps him to get there. So by feel and by sound, he makes his way to the center of the labyrinth. And he's still feeling around, but he doesn't hear the Minotaur. And all of a sudden, he grabs a hold of something that feels like a horn. And all of a sudden, Theseus' world turns upside down because the Minotaur, he found him, flipped him up, and turned him over on his back. And he was right on top of him, breathing that bull breath right into his face. But Theseus still had a hold of that horn, so he knew where the Minotaur was. So he reached up and he grabbed the other horn, and he pulled and he twisted 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 until pop! And the Minotaur disintegrated into hair and dust all over Theseus. And so he had defeated the Minotaur, but now he had to get out of the maze, and he realized that he had dropped Ariadne's string. So he starts feeling around. Again, he can't see anything. There's lots of bull hair hanging out in there, and he keeps thinking he's got it, and he doesn't. And finally, he finds the string. follows the string all the way back to the entrance, and he comes out the door and he says, I have defeated the Minotaur. I have defeated the labyrinth. Well, King Midas didn't have much of a choice. He had to let Theseus and his whole tribute go. So they head off to their ship. And as they get to the ship, Ariadne comes to Theseus and she says, if my father finds out I helped you, he is not going to be happy. So you need to take me to Athens with you. So Theseus put her on the ship with him, and off to Athens they went. And that is the story of Theseus and the Minotaur. Now, part of the reason I told this story today is because Miss Suzanne's craft is related to it, and you kind of needed to hear the story before you would understand what she's got planned for you today. So we are going to move over to Miss Suzanne.
Hi everybody. Okay, so today we're going to make our own maze or our own labyrinth. So in your kit, you're going to get a piece of black paper. You're going to get a template on white paper that has a circle, and at the bottom you have your very own Minotaur head. And then you're going to get some white yarn. That's in your take and make as well. So the things you'll need from home are glue. I have a glue stick for the paper, and then I do have liquid glue for the yarn. It's upside down because it's running low. You're going to need a good pencil with a good eraser. That's going to help you out quite a bit. A pencil or a crayon with white or light colored markings, and then a good pair of scissors. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut out your circle, okay? And you're also going to want to cut out your Minotaur head. And I went ahead and cut my circle out, and I cut out my Minotaur head. And you're going to put your Minotaur head right in the center of your circle, or actually wherever you want in the circle. It's up to you, because you're just going to draw your maze around your Minotaur head. So what I did is I sketched out my, I don't know if you guys can see, I sketched out my maze lightly in pencil, and I actually went through and made sure that my maze worked. There's nothing worse than a maze not working because you have too many entrances or exits, or too many walls, barriers in the way of getting through the maze. So you're going to want to sketch it out in pencil. So once you sketch out your maze and you have your Minotaur head glued where you want it, I put mine in the center, you're going to want to then glue that onto your black paper. Okay. Then, using the liquid glue and your yarn, now this is going to get kind of tricky and kind of messy. You're going to want to trace out your lines on your maze. You don't want to fill in the whole maze just yet with glue. You're going to want to do it like a little bit at a time, so that way you can make sure the yarn sits in there nicely. So you're going to want to start one space and then push, kind of follow along your maze that you drew out with your finger and the glue, and push the yarn down into the glue. So that way the yarn creates the maze. And you're going to want to go on and do it around the whole maze that you drew out, and then eventually it'll dry and look like that, and then you can make your own Minotaur maze. Thanks, guys.
And now Miss Rosalie's going to show us our snack craft.
Hi everyone. So today we are going to make Achilles heel apple dippers. So you're going to get an apple, a Greek yogurt, and a maple syrup. And if you want cinnamon, you can have cinnamon because I like cinnamon. So grab mine. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to need to cut your apple. Now I've got an apple slicer. You might have to have a grown-up help you with that, or with a knife to cut your apple, okay? There we go. I like to use this because it makes it easier. All right, and then we're going to open our yogurt and our syrup and stir that in there. Now our yogurt is the river Styx, and our syrup is like magical powers. Oops, that's okay. Mix it up a little bit so it's gonna taste really yummy. And Achilles, when he was born as the son of a king and of a sea nymph, his mother wanted to protect him so that he couldn't get hurt. So she took the baby Achilles and she dipped him in the river. Now she could only dip him enough. You can see where my fingers are. I couldn't get any yogurt on there. And that was Achilles' heel, or the bottom part of his foot. And when Achilles got older and he was in the Trojan War, an arrow shot him in that part of his foot, and then he got hurt and died. So that is our apple dipper snack for today. Bye.
All right, are you all ready for the craziest thing you will probably ever get in a Take and Make? This week you are getting a roll of toilet paper. Now, when we originally planned this particular activity, there was not a run on toilet paper. We've had the run, we're back to good supply, but if you really feel like you need the toilet paper for other uses, you can use it for other uses. But we are going to make a toilet paper toga. So I'm going to have Miss Corinne come from behind the camera, and we're going to demonstrate how to do this. So I'm going to recommend that you start kind of across the chest, and Miss Corinne's going to hold it, and she's going to lift up her arm so that we can get it underneath. And we're going to come around a couple of times, and she's going to kind of tuck that end in there just a little bit so that it doesn't, because we don't want her toga falling off. That would be a problem. Okay, so then togas go up over the shoulder. So we're going to come up over her shoulder and bring it around. Oh. We already broke the toga. All right, and you can do that a couple times if you want. You don't need to. So now what we're going to do, because this is the fun part, is if you have your little one, because somebody's going to have to help. So if there's bigger siblings, you can help each other. If not, Mom or Dad, you're up, okay? So we're going to have your little one spin, and they have to spin fairly slowly. Oh, actually, if you put your fingers in like this, okay, keep going, Miss Corinne. Then it will just keep going, and you just go lower and lower and lower, and we won't make it so that Miss Corinne can't walk. All right, so then until you have a toga, and chances are you'll have some toilet paper left over, and you can just use it for whatever you want. All right, everyone, that is all that we have for today. So let me tell you a little bit about the rest of the week and how to get your Take and Makes. So tomorrow we have someone who's going to do science. It's pre-recorded. It's all about the colors of the rainbow, so you need coffee filters and you need markers. I'll post that at 1 o'clock, but you can watch it anytime after that. On Thursday, we're doing summer crafts. We've got 4 really fun crafts, so come back at 1 o'clock on Thursday, and we'll show you how to do those. We do have Take and Makes available for both Tuesday and Thursday if you would like to pick one of those up. The phone number is 720-425-9319. Let us know that you want to take a make. This week we are only doing pickups this afternoon, so today from 2 to 6 and Thursday from 2 to 6. We are not going to do pickups on Friday because most of the children's team was actually taking Friday off for the holiday. So if you can get in on Tuesday or Thursday, that would be awesome. And that is all that we have for today. Sorry, Miss Corinne, I didn't have you go start the music. Do you want to start the music and we'll take it on out?
Okay.